want to break down your insights into short-term space, how to do it properly, what people should look for, anything that you can give the audience right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing had been Airbnb just blew up. It did so well over COVID, especially in certain markets where people were doing like staycations, and so they wanted to travel domestically. And so because of that, like you could post anything on Airbnb and do well in certain markets. Like you could, especially up in the Kawartha Lakes where we were buying in cottage country, you could post a photo of a sandwich and it would get booked up.
Yeah.
Like you could. So the biggest thing now is because some markets are saturated, you have to be after the 90th percentile. You have to be at least attempting to be in the top 10% because there's disproportionate returns in the top 10%. And so breaking down what that looks like is making sure that the subject line and the body text is just, the copywriting is everything, right? Making sure it's a good hook and you're explaining exactly what they want to know in the description. Super high quality photos. We actually will go and find like Airbnb photographers to go in, like specializing in Airbnb and doing props and like staging and anything that needs to be done. Like props would be like watermelon cut up or butter tarts or glasses of wine out. Like they really have to be envisioning themselves staying there.
Yes.
So that's a huge one, is just like the listing itself. Price optimization is huge. You can't be too underpriced or overpriced. So that's a big one. And yeah, I would say like those are the biggest right now that we're looking at. There's a bunch of other stuff kind of behind the curtain, but I would say market analysis is really important if you want to get into the space. People underestimate that and they hyper focus, I find, on the property analysis, but they don't really look at that city research view. So
What are some tools to get that research done?
we always use AirDNA.
Okay.
Yeah, AirDNA is awesome. It's just like has all this data that they've aggregated from VRBO, Airbnb, and they put it into these really like clear spreadsheets. And you can look at, okay, here are all the numbers for all the cities in Canada and what they're doing for average nightly rates and expected annual revenue and occupancy and stuff like that. So you can geek out. Like I'm pretty analytical, so I like to geek out over the numbers.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing as an investor, right? You got to keep those numbers, like really clear. I find when I talk to beginners, like a lot of the time they just say, like I'm not really doing anything to analyze. Like I bought a property or two. I had a good feeling about it. I drove through the area. It looked nice. I'm familiar with the area. And so they had a good feeling, but we need to, like usually when you're analyzing properties, remove as much emotion and feeling as possible and look at the numbers. And so if there's not metrics or KPIs that you're looking at as standards, like for example, we'll do 25% total ROI as one standard for Airbnb and at least 10% cash on cash ROI. 15% is like more of like the goal for Airbnb. And so those are like 2 of 8 that we'll look at and they're pretty important.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I mean, you got dialed down to a science.
There's a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah.
Like there always is. But it's pretty systemized out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. It's a full-fledged business.